Netacea is a cybersecurity company.
Netacea solves the most sophisticated and complex bot attacks
for enterprise companies.
Using dynamic solutions that operate in real time.
We utilise intent analytics, machine learning models for the problems associated with
various threats to websites, apps, APIs and so on.
So behavior analytics means that you will visualize the user journey of a user and understand what this user was doing. Like, for instance, me as a human, I will visit home and then buy a product, a specific product. So this is what we map in terms of behavior analysis. We map the user journey in the data over the time, and we compare this with basically the different journeys in the data. So let's say humans usually will follow the same trend over time, while bad bots will have anomalies in this journey. This is what behavior analysis is. Of course, that nowadays bots are becoming more sophisticated. This is where we move to intent analytics. So not relying only on the behavior over time, but understanding what the intent of this user is. And this can be done by checking other sources of the data, checking how fast this user is doing this activity, but also checking the sources. And something else that we can do is like visualize different categories over time, like let's say number of unique clients, number of unique data center. This way we'll be able to basically understand that, okay, this user is not following the trend, really the trend of human user behaviors, because even though, it might look within the same, it's hidden, let's say, within the same seasonality, still, if this user is coming from a potential malicious data center, let's say, or potential malicious or spoofed browser, user agent, then we know that this user has not a good intent, let's say, for this customer. And then we feed this data to these models, and then we have some basically output, which is translated to recommendations for our customers, and this is what is used to stop the malicious traffic.
Basically, we take the concept of bot experts within Netacea. It's one of our kind of foundational principles, is that we really understand the cyberspace, and we expand that as far as being domain experts. So over the course of our relationship with the customer, we really truly understand how their website or app or API works. You might expect that every customer has the same approach, which is block all the bad guys, introduce no friction whatsoever to any of our legitimate customers. And that is basically true, but there is a difference when it comes to the nuances within that. So a really useful example is to take the concept of the retail industry. So within that vertical, you're going to have lots and lots of different types of businesses, from big box supermarkets to small independent type retailers that are the only people that sell their goods. So if you take those two extremes, your big box retailer is going to have a much more conservative approach to how they want to go forward with cybersecurity and blocking traffic. If friction is introduced into the user journey of their customers, they could potentially be losing the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years of weekly shops from that customer, versus the more bespoke company, which is offering a pair of shoes or a pair of jeans that they can only be bought from them. Especially if they've got limited edition items, they're prepared to introduce a little bit more friction at different times in order to ensure that the real people are getting the products and bots aren't getting hold of them.
Needs differ a lot from customer to customer. I think there's a lot of synergy between verticals. That being said, I'd say that similar to the way that cybersecurity is an arms race and is forever changing, in economics things are constantly changing. Therefore, the priorities of our customer base are changing from, I'd say, probably quarter to quarter. In terms of verticals, there is, like I said, some synergy. So, credential stuffing, account takeover, fraud, these are all things that are a priority for most businesses. But when it comes to security versus end user and frictionless approach with the highest amount of security, that priority can change depending on when a sales cycle is for e-commerce or a big event for example, a streaming service. Attack vectors change a lot over time. We are using defensive AI against offensive AI, and the best defense is to know your offense. So Like I said earlier, you know, it is an arms race. So as we retool and we change our solutions, the bots are also catching up with that as well. So over time, what happens is it becomes this kind of race to the finish. You know, the prize is the same, but the tactics used by these assailants is becoming a lot more complex over time. And the way that we approach that is through utilization of threat intelligence, data analytics, and data science also. I think at Netacea we have a continuous approach towards improvements. And what I mean by that is that it's always iterative and it's always proactive, not reactive. When you're looking at any kind of attack vector, we have to make sure that our approach is the latest and greatest, but also that we understand the threat landscape surrounding the problem at hand. So we utilize methods such as reverse engineering scripts, baking that back into the machine learning, and then also ensuring that all of our data analysts and data science teams have the best processes internally towards alerting so that we can automate as much of it as possible. So when there is a new attack vector present or a new tactic being used, we're alerted to that automatically and we can respond quickly and efficiently. So it's all about kind of being ahead of the game when it comes to protection.